Hi, my name is Annette Legel, and I am going to be the facilitator for the SoulCollage group that's being held through Well for the Journey. I've been a facilitator since about 2014, 2015, around there. And SoulCollage has been a hobby of mine that has brought me great pleasure over these years. It's a way to get to know about your inner world and to let what's percolating in the subconscious mind to drift up to the surface. If you're going through something big in your life, it's a way to process what's going on, or maybe help you see a way into the future with what's happening. So since I already gave an introduction to SoulCollage course last February, and the group is springing up out of that, I won't be doing another intro class before we start next month in October on the 17th with our group. But I thought I would share with you my slideshow that I had at that time so that you could get to know what the principles are behind SoulCollage. So with no further ado, I would like to share my screen and tell you about the history of SoulCollage. All right, here we go. And here we go. Okay. So SoulCollage is the main rule to SoulCollage is that there are no rules. So I'm going to share with you the general principles that were behind the founders' process of using SoulCollage as a way to journey within. So it was developed by a psychotherapist named Sina Frost. Let me see, I'm going to get rid of my little photo there. Okay. Sina Frost, who unfortunately passed away back in 2016. But she was doing some study with a psychotherapist named Jean Houston. And out of her work with her came her idea of SoulCollage. So Sina, I'm just going to read my slides a bit. So Sina loved to empower people of all ages to create a visual journal using their intuition in order to tap into their subconscious minds. And the beautiful thing about SoulCollage is no artistic ability is necessary. You don't have to be an artist or ever having played with art. Even those who feel that they're bad at art, which usually some of us have thought that since childhood, none of that matters because we're using already formed images to create whole new pieces of art. So Sina said, collage is a metaphor for any discovering, gathering, and reweaving of energy bits already formed and present in the universe, meaning images that are found in all different places. A new and personal creation can be made from the ever-present divine chaos of images all around us. Just choose, assemble, name, and then inhabit your SoulCollage cards. Okay. So three very important concepts in SoulCollage paradigm that Sina created are the concept of netters, shadow, and soul. So, and as you see, as we go along, you're going to see some SoulCollages that I've created over the years. I'm just going to take a moment to explain that they're traditionally made on these mat boards cut to the size of 5 by 8 inches. All right, when I first started out making SoulCollages, there was no way I thought I could get it down to a small size like that. And actually my collages were much bigger in the beginning. I couldn't figure out how to reduce it down that small. And again, there is no rule that you have to use these 8x5 cards. But what Sina was thinking of when she had them all uniform size was that eventually you would be creating your own personal deck of cards, much like an oracle deck. The one we're most aware of is like the tarot deck, but there are many different types of oracle decks, meaning, when you go in and you're contemplating an issue or problem and you draw cards from a deck, they might reveal some insight for you. So that was her idea behind creating a deck of cards, different suits. And I'm going to be getting into talking about the suits that she created. But backing up a bit, netter is an Egyptian word that means the one and the many. They can be an ally, guide, or challenger. So this is my SoulCollage card depicting the concept of netter. The multicolored circle that you see around the image of part of the earth, the circle is a Buddhist symbol for the whole. And so we see here both the oneness or the wholeness, all of the above, and the many individual pieces that are within that. And netters can be, we're going to be looking at the netters that we consider part of ourselves, and they can be an ally, something that guide parts of us that guide us or challenge us. So one basic premise in SoulCollage work is this: every netter exists in a form. It may be an energy form, it may be a physical form, and it may be a mental or conceptual form. And every form, by virtue of existing, has the potential to cast a shadow. So a shadow of a form may be too much, an exaggeration of its energy, or too little, or the absence of it. So our different shadows of who we are can be parts of us that haven't, that we shove away, that we don't want to be seen or we don't want to look at. And as a result, it creates a problem. And so the value of looking at our shadows is to look within, see what needs to come into the light, what needs to be examined, what needs to be felt, what needs to be understood in order for growth to happen and something to shift. So in looking at our shadows through SoulCollage, it helps us to put a name to maybe the emotions we don't allow ourselves to feel, or the part of our identity we are embarrassed about, or needs some work. And as soon as you start bringing it forth and putting on a SoulCollage card, things begin to shift and change and transform. And over time, you see that what used to be a shadow eventually starts to become more in balance and part of our light. So it's a very powerful way to look at the shadow aspects of ourself. So this first one is what I think of as my victim card, where I had a hard time asking for help. And so this card reminds me it's important to ask for help and to receive it. And then you might see the middle card is about sadness and depression. And the third card is about poverty mentality. The word soul in SoulCollage work is inclusive. It includes all the netters of the personal self, the personality parts, including the ego, and the energies of the physical body, and the archetypes that come from the cosmic realms to influence us, and even other sentient beings. This soul might also be called the whole self. So Sina felt that these aspects of our whole self fell into 4 SoulCollage suits: the committee suit, the community suit, the companion suit, and the council suit. The committee suit is a psychological dimension of our soul. It includes all the different aspects and voices of our personality. So this first card shows what lies underneath the surface, right? The Medusa head, the things that are in shadow and not being looked at. But once they're brought up into awareness, it's possible to transmute them, transform them. The second one is my black sheep, or the weirdo card. You know, just always feeling like I was different from everybody else, but I've learned to celebrate that. And so that's, I fondly think of that as my weirdo card, and owning that. The next card is the part of me who tends to be a workaholic. And I made this when I was going through grad school. So it shows all the things that I was working on and how slowly it was going, almost like I was pushing a boulder up a hill. And the last one pertains to different things that happened to me that represents little miracles in my life. So that's the one who believes in miracles. And this committee must include the observer, says Sina. This is the netter who steps back and looks at your whole self from a somewhat objective place. This is the committee's best attempt at developing a part that can step back and partially separate from all your other netters in order to see them without judgment. And that's the most powerful thing, to be able to look at your all your different aspects, including the shadows, and see them without judging them, helping them to be seen and heard, and therefore be integrated into who you are. Some possible committee netters could include, and here's a whole range of different possibilities, and this is just the beginning, right? So those that are considered to be negative can include the critic, which we all have, and the judge, the wounded child, the rebellious child, the raging self, the perfectionist, the nag, the bitch, the bully, the procrastinator. Well, it kind of gets depressing. The controller, the jealous one, the blamer, the liar, etc. So we all have aspects of ourselves that are in shadow that, you know, we don't like to admit we have, or we don't like dealing with or feeling. Then there are netters in our committee that can include those that are usually considered to be positive. The happy child, the grateful one, the curious kid, the lover, the loyal friend, the writer, poet, or storyteller, the volunteer, the generous one, the persistent one, the comedian, the hostess, the artist, musician, dancer, etc. A mother, father, sister, you know, and those who are usually seen as neutral: the organizer, the teacher, the caretaker, the gardener, the house cleaner, the student, the responsible one, etc. And all the quotes that I'm giving you by Sina comes from her book, which I'll talk about again later in the slideshow. So the community suit then is of the communal dimension. So it contains cards for those beings that impact your personal history with their energy. And they can be, don't forget, they can be guides, allies, or challengers. So sometimes the most important people in our community suit are the ones who were the most aggravating, but maybe pushed us the farthest. They can be people you know, they can be historical figures, they can be mythical. No, actually mythical is another suit, so hold on to that idea. So here are cards of my family of origin. my grandmother, mother, father, sister, and brother. And you notice, look at the ones of my mother, or the second one, and my father, and also the one of my brother. I used multiple images. I was able to use bits of various photos in order to create a collage of different aspects of their personality. Or the family you created yourself. These are cards that I made of my children. My daughter's is mostly symbolic, well, totally symbolic. And my son's was comprised of photographs. The community suit can also include pets, current or historical figures that have inspired you, and even important places. These are all different places for me. So one was my backyard, where the hammock was. The middle one is my heart chakra, which I like to involve in meditation. And then a mountain meadow that is important to me. Or even imaginary beings. So I made a whole series of collages centered around my childhood lovey, Ellie the elephant. As you can see, he's rather bedraggled. But when I found this image on the left, it was a greeting card, and I saw this little girl and elephant. I just immediately welled up with love, because it brought up my feelings about my first lovey that I ever had, right? So I've gone on to make a whole collection. These are shadow boxes that I collaged with the idea of me and Ellie on vacation. And yes, I know that's misspelled, it's on purpose. So the idea that Ellie and I went to India, to his birthplace, to a mountain meadow, to the ocean. And I have more that are on cards, all with that one image that sparked so many ideas and loving memories. The companion suit this one's a little more difficult to kind of get a hold of. It's the energetic dimension. And so when we talk about energy, the energetic dimension, we're talking about the chakra system and spirit animals, okay, that come from more of a shamanic point of view. So the netters of the companion suit are physical and subtle bodies, their flow, their blockages, and their changing ability to help and heal or to hinder and hurt. Using the ancient yogic system of the energy centers called chakras, you will discover the netter beings, primarily animals living and working in each of your chakras. So that might be kind of a strange concept for some people. And I like to expand it to not necessarily be connected to the chakras, but maybe if you're at all familiar with the concept of spirit animals or totem animals, they're energetic beings that act like guardians and guides. That, similar to the idea of guardian angels. So my heart chakra animal is the dolphin. The power animal I think of as my whole body protector is the bear. And my spiritual guide, one of my spiritual guides when I do shamanic journeying, is the wolf. So that might be a strange concept for some folks, and definitely can talk about it in the future if you want. Okay. The council suit, this was actually one of my favorite suits, and this is the archetypal dimension. So Carl Jung was a psychologist who had developed a whole way of looking at human beings from more of a spiritual perspective. And he talked about the concept of the archetype, which indicates the existence of definite forms in the psyche, which seem to be present always and everywhere. In addition to our immediate consciousness, which is of a thoroughly personal nature, there exists a second psychic system of a collective, universal, and impersonal nature. Carl Jung called this phenomenon the collective unconscious. So it's something that can be so personal, these archetypal aspects of ourselves. They're like universal energies that work through us or support us when we take on certain roles in our life, which I'll get to in a second. But that brings us back to the Egyptian concept of the netter, which means both one divine source and the many. So the archetypes hold this kind of divine energy or idea or concept or role, and many human beings will experience those energies or take on those roles. Archetypes are both the templates for life as well as the guides that help us navigate life. So there's this spiritual energy that comes in with the archetypal energies that help to guide us in certain roles. Archetypes are like universal patterns of energy appearing in every culture across time, yet known by many names. They are invisible energies until they take on some sort of form within a person or community. They are silent until they express themselves in dreams, poetry, myths, music, or intuitive voices from the unconscious. Archetypes might express a pattern that flows through our lives, like metamorphosis, or the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Archetypal wisdom may guide us in the form of ascended masters or deities. Or may be global and encompassing, like the spirit of Gaia. They may seem very personal and yet may involve roles that are experienced by many around the world, like mother and caregiver. The divine child or the nature child. Archetypes may be energies that assist you at different times of your life, like the Amazon. Or call you into soul lessons and experiences, like the spiritual seeker. The wounded healer, or the artist. The visionary, or the earth angel. There are endless archetypal energies and patterns. Which ones are at play in your life? And then the last suit is different from the others. It's called the Transpersonal Suit, oneness beyond form. However, says Sina, always on the edge of a consciousness in the SoulCollage work is a deeper truth. Underneath the personal diversity of our netters and the world's complexity exists oneness, a mystery out of which they return. So there are 3 cards that are in the Transpersonal Suit. The source card. The source is just that, the source of all that ever was, is, and will be. Source might also be called spirit. Some of us would say God, creator force, universe. As you see here, this is just one image. This was a photograph taken by the Hubble telescope. The soul essence card. This card points to that spark of source that was in your individual soul from your birth. Your soul essence is unique to you and is like a coding for manifestation into your many future forms. In other words, it is your special potential. As beings grow, there is a continual urge from within to fulfill this promise. And then the witness card. Another word for witness might be consciousness. Witness allows you to develop an ability to move away from identification with your netters and begin to see them simply as parts of yourself, valuable and evolving workers in your life story. It has no comments to make on what it reflects. It does not judge. It is consciousness, a place to step into and detach. It has no form, it has no shadow, and it is silent. And another tradition of SoulCollage is after we have made our cards and we're sharing them with others, but also just it could be done just if you're working by yourself. You look at the card and you speak from the card to yourself to identify what aspect of that card, what aspect of you is that card revealing. So when we get together at the end of our card making time, we'll show our cards to each other, and then we come up with the I am one who statement. And so you try to connect with what the card is saying, as if you're talking from the card. So, for example, the first one is, I can't remember my I'm one who statement, but basically what that's about is all the different aspects of the way I use my hands. So I am the one who works with my hands. The second one is, I am the one who knows loose lips sink ships. And the third one is, I am the one who knows the path of the heart. The one on the upper right is, I am the one who finds my center amidst chaos. And the lower right is, I am the one who hides my colors under a bush. That's one of my shadow ones. Afraid to show my colors. Or I used to be. No more. So all of this information can be found in Sina Frost's book, SoulCollage Evolving. I highly recommend it. It's very interesting, beautiful, and helpful book. Describes everything perfectly about her concept of SoulCollage. And you can buy a starter kit when you start to do SoulCollage. I recommend the starter kit. You can buy it with or without the book. You don't have to get the book. The regular starter kit you'll see is on the right-hand side. You'll see there are cards, a collection of cards. It's mat board that's blue on one side and white on the other. And then these plastic sleeves that you can insert your card into, and that's a protective cover for it. And then an archetypal acid-free glue stick. So I'm going to end the slideshow. Great. Okay, so again, Sina's book and the cards, which there are 12 that have a front and back. Some people collage on the blue side and some people collage on the white side. It's your choice. But by collaging on the white side and leaving the blue back, it's a nice backing for all the cards to have a common look when they're turned upside down. And you would turn them upside down. If you're going to use them as an oracle deck, you can just spread them out and you don't know what card is what. And if you have an inner question, you can just kind of run your hand over the backs of the card and just see what card you're drawn to in when you've asked a question and you're picking a card that might have an answer for you. That is one way that we use them. And then the plastic sleeves, you can just insert the card within the sleeve. And then there's a little adhesive strip, and then you fold it down, and then your card has a nice protective cover. So you can get, you might use them heavily. Now, if you don't want to use, be restricted to the 8x5, you can, like look for pieces of cardboard. I know people who will take the back or the photographs from calendars. So they make a very nice background. So here's a calendar of the different national parks. And they can make beautiful backgrounds, and they're not 8x5, they're a bigger size. And so, also the other tools. So I recommend getting the starter kit. You can get it directly from the company that makes them. It's called Hanford Mead, Hanford Mead. Or you can order it through Amazon, of course. And the Hanford Mead sells it through Amazon. But make sure you're getting the starter kit and not just card packs. Card packs you'll only be buying the cards. The starter kit, you would be getting the cards, the sleeves, a frame that is helpful when you make cards, because then you can figure out, okay, what do I want to include from this bigger image? What would fit on a card? That's kind of nice there, or you want that. So it helps you plan how you're going to place your images on your card. It's a very nice little tool that comes along with the starter pack too, as well as the glue, which can come in different forms. It's all archival acid-free glue. And so the things that you would have to purchase would be also, you'd have to purchase scissors. I personally like to use crafting razors. Now this one, if you can see, is very tiny, tiny razor. And it swivels. So you can kind of really do intricate little cutting. Very, very, this is my favorite tool, I gotta say. And I also use a regular kind of X-Acto knife crafting razor. And therefore a cutting mat of some sort. This is a self-sealing cutting mat, so that when you cut, the mat is not ruined, but you can cut through paper and very easily with a razor. The other thing that's helpful is what's called a brayer. It's used when you go into like Michael's or Joann's, some kind of crafting store, they'll have supplies for decoupaging, and this is used in decoupaging. And so once you glue things down, you can roll it flat and get all the bubbles out from the glue. So I find that a helpful tool, And then just be on the lookout for images, which you'll find everywhere. I now am a hoarder of images. I have so many images from years and years of collecting them. I'm constantly, when I see things, whether they be advertisements or magazines, calendars, I'm constantly ripping out images. So I have more than I could possibly use in a lifetime. My favorite magazine of all for backgrounds is National Geographic's. The quality of the paper, and then just the photographs themselves are usually very vivid, colorful, unique. So I highly recommend National Geographic's. I myself was a little horrified first to cut them up. As a kid, they were very sacred magazines, like I felt it was sacrilegious to cut up a National Geographic. I've gotten over that. And you can go on Craigslist and find someone's giving away all their National Geographics if you don't have them yourself. I mean, I literally got a truck bed full. I got somebody's father's collection from the 60s through the 2000s. Unbelievable. The other source is really good, is like catalogs. I like Signal's catalogs. They have really tiny images that you can use, and a lot of them really beautiful symbols. So you can, art catalogs of art things for your home, other popular magazines, whatever your favorite is. Prevention has nice small images. It's endless. So I would say just be on the lookout for magazines, and when you find an image you like, rip it out. You don't need to keep the whole magazine, you just need the images you like. So get friends to give you theirs, and just enjoy looking. It's like a treasure hunt, looking for the images. So our group is going to start on October 17th. It will be the third Sunday of every other month. So we start in October, and then it will be December, February, April, and probably June. So every other month, and from 1 to 5 on Sundays. You can, if you're not sure if you want to sign up for the whole series, that's okay. Just jump in and join and see if you like it. And then if you want to, come every time, that's great. If you just want to drop in and out, if we have room that particular month, then you're welcome to join us. I do have a limit of 8 people because of the amount of time it takes to share at the beginning and at the end. We'll keep it to a manageable number. So the general protocol is we come together, we talk about where we are, what we're experiencing in our lives, and then we'll do that on Zoom. And then I try to keep it, 45 minutes if we can. And then we'll have 2.5 hours, anywhere from 2 to 2.5 hours, to then just be on our own time making cards. So it's very, it's in your own time, your own space, in your own home, and then rejoin the Zoom group in the last 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how many people are there, in which we share our collages, and we also give feedback, not criticism, but feedback. How do other people's collages affect us? What does it spark inside of us? What are we seeing in the images? Because everybody will see something a little bit differently. So that's how it goes. It's a wonderful, magical time. I always say it's a great group for introverts, because you come together in a small circle, and that over time, that small circle of people become, a safe container, friends with whom you can share, and then you also get, alone time doing your own work. So perfect for introverts. So that's it. I hope you consider joining us. and finding out just how wonderfully fun and addictive soul collage is. It's really, it's endless possibilities what you can create. You don't have to stay in the suits. Let me just say that. I might have a theme for the day, but the rule is there are no rules. So I always encourage you to just create what's wanting to come up and out. You might not even know what it's about until you've already made the collage, and you might not even know then. You might say, well, these pictures wanted to go together. I don't know why. And then maybe a couple months down the road, you look at the card and it hits you in a totally different way. That's what's so beautiful about this. You're taking images already out there, putting them together in a unique form, and they'll speak differently to you every time you look at them, actually. So it's a lot of fun. It's very exciting. So hope to see you soon. Take care.